I warn you, this story does not have anything remotely resembling a happy ending. It is, without any doubt, one of the more depressing tales due to what this woman did to her only daughter. Get a call from the boss. He wants his best people at his office now for a job. 4 of us are there, and he runs down the situation for us. It's rare and urgent, as it involves a minor. Rich guy's wife has a runoff with a small fortune and their only child, a daughter, age 13. Doesn't give a fuck about the money or the wife. Wants his daughter back. Boss wants us to get all 3 due to possibility of delicious bonuses. We're a bit dubious. Not sure if this is something we should do, as it really sounds more of a police gig due to the child. While we've seen young girls go off to screw strangers with their mothers, it's never been any younger than 15. Boss makes it clear, this is happening. We shrug and go over the notes. Wife is a repeat offender, 7 times to be exact. She's run off like this, and we brought her back. Not us specifically, but the company we work for. Never taken the child with her. Many of the notes she's left behind in the past list the child as one of the reasons she fucked off. Wife has typically either gone full party train or tried to establish a new life in some shithole each time, but surfaced when money runs out due to not having access to the lifestyle she is accustomed to. We fear she's gone new life again, which means she'll be tough to find even if we find out what country she's in. Quickly realize the child has no passport, so she can't have taken a commercial flight. She wouldn't charter anything less than a private jet. No luck on that front. Keep digging into possible routes away from the continent. Never tried to set up a new life on the continent. It goes on like this for months. Longest case on record at 8 months. By this point, we're all pretty much exhausted. No leads, no clues. We tap every contact we could think of. She had to be somewhere in Europe. Get a lead. A fucking lead at long last. A man was caught trying to sell her Rolex. The jewelers had been suspicious and checked its number against the books. He was promptly arrested, and our client had arranged for us to talk to him first. We get there after a brief plane trip and find an honest-to-God fucking Catholic priest. A fucking priest had been trying to sell her watch. Idiot doesn't speak any English, so only one of us can actually talk to him, making the questioning rather long and drawn out. To say he was uncooperative would be putting it lightly, but his story was that this woman came to him to get her and her daughter away from her abusive husband. This woman was obviously wealthy, as she had paid him a lot to arrange it. It was then that it clicked. The reason we'd not been able to find her was not because she hadn't taken a plane where she was going. It was because they had traveled using documents issued by the fucking Vatican, and nobody fucking checked. With shit figured out, all we needed was a destination. A few details he let slip came together. Turned out, Mother Dear had decided to become a nun and take her daughter with her on missionary work. To fucking Africa. Client pulls strings, gets more detailed info out of the Vatican. Target is located. You gotta be shitting me. Motherfucking sub-Saharan Africa? Boss is hesitant to send us in, but after discussion with the client, more money is probably offered and boss loses his mind. We get sent to Africa. 4 white guys, alone in Africa. Sounds like a great plan. We arrive at the airport, expecting it to be a total shit heap. Funnily enough, it is, but there's white guys everywhere. Turns out the airport is controlled by a Western private military contractor who work in the area, and they have been hired as guides and protective detail. Everything turned out better than expected, until they started piling body armor on us and hand us assault rifles. 4 poor white guys completely out of their depth, in the middle of what is probably a war zone. Fortunately though, they have a decent idea of where the target is, as they notice a small church had been built there recently. It's been torn down since though. Pile into helichoppers, and off we go. Yank mercenaries constantly talking shit the whole way, and taking random pot shots at the wildlife. One of our group is pretty much having a panic attack by this point, but he's kept sufficiently calm through the proper application of fist to face. Eventually, land near a really shitty looking village. It is that stereotypical African shithole, mud huts, flies, and emaciated animals everywhere. Then you notice things that look a bit out of place, like the expensive, for the area, old Land Rover, the new clothes on some of the people, the fact that everyone looks well fed despite nothing growing here. PMC goons fan out and do their thing and start kicking down doors. There's a few shots fired, but one would not like to get involved, so we hang back. As I said, we're out of our depth. Eventually, a white woman, a white girl, and 4 African men are dragged out of the village by the PMC goons and dropped at our feet. All alive, fortunately, even if one of the black guys has clearly gotten a broken nose, arm, and probably a couple of ribs, judging by the bruising that's beginning to show. The two whites are indeed who we're looking for. They don't look like nuns, though. None that I ever saw. They're dressed up as natives, filthy, and pregnant. One of our unfortunate merry band has a daughter the same age as the girl, and just has to take a moment to get away from this shit in the choppa. Quick explanation from the PMC goons regarding the men reveals that the one who got beat almost to death was fucking the daughter, and the other three were plowing the wife, who was clearly enjoying it. Wife gets all up in her face almost immediately. All on about how we have no right to tell her how to live her life, blah blah blah, her husband is a bad man, blah blah. Fortunately, the PMC goon pistol whips her quiet after I point out that really we only need the daughter. At this point, the daughter is just in tears, has no clue what's going on anymore it seems. Doesn't seem terribly bright either. The wife gets gagged and tied up, then thrown in the choppa, and we find something for the little one to wear for the ride back. Spends the whole trip wearing one of the PMC goons' jackets. She doesn't really say anything, but fills in the remaining holes in the story for us. Seems her mother did arrive here as a nun, but later on decided to marry the local chieftain, and showered the place with all the money she'd brought. Then the chieftain had arranged for his son to marry the daughter. His son, who by the looks of him, was in his mid to late 20s. Nobody really feels happy about this shit. She's too far into it for an abortion to really be feasible. We arrange for a pickup from the boss, and awkwardness ensues. The client fucking shows up in a private jet. His half-naked pregnant 13-year-old daughter, his almost completely naked pregnant wife, and 4 worn-out, tired, and scruffy-looking white guys await him as he comes running down the steps from his plane. For a second, we thought he was going to do a 180 without stopping and fly away. But to his credit, he did seem genuinely happy to see his daughter was safe, blamed the wife for everything, had us take the daughter aboard, who by this point was in full PTSD mode. He stayed outside with the PMC goons, arguing with his wife for what seemed like forever. I will not lie, we were expecting to hear a gunshot. We were all waiting for it. Instead, she got re-gagged and brought into the plane and locked into one of the toilets for the entire trip, trussed up like a hog. On arriving back from the client, he gave us his personal thanks and a bonus to ensure proper discretion. We fucked off. Found out the wife died the next day in a car accident. Fuck knows what happened to the daughter, but she's alive probably. The kid was probably put up for adoption somewhere far, far away. This particular story involves a very fat young woman, a fat suit, and an unfortunate, rather small Thai ladyboy. One day at the office, those rare days I'm actually there, sat around talking shit with everyone, playing retarded office games. Boss comes in with new job. Usual story, rich guy's daughter has gone off on a party train and he's sick of paying for it. Wants her brought back. It is actually the most mundane and normal of jobs. Normally, these girls go off with daddy's credit card and hit a string of bars and clubs with it, and anyone willing to pretend to be their friend. This goes on until daddy cuts off the card, and then they find other ways to pay and fall in with a different crowd. We find her easily enough. Dumb bitch keeps trying to use her cards. The flight doesn't take long, and she is still trying to use them. I mean, my god, how fucking dense can you be? Locate her in a bland as fuck themed nightclub. Ice everywhere, place is fucking cold, drinks come in ice. Fucking whack shit, yo. She's easy to spot. The land whale hammering the card reader, shouting abuse at the staff. Wonder why nobody has thrown her out yet. We come up behind her and tell the barman that we'll cover the tab. Inform her that her father sent us. Normally, this is enough to make the young girls become quiet and cooperative. Not this whale. She pushes us aside and starts running. Despite her size, bitch can run, and we lose her in the crowd on the streets. The whale vanishes beneath the waves, and by waves I mean crowd. We shrug and try to figure out her next port of call. Argument ensues between us over our failure to stop a little girl. She's 16. Younger guy points out that she probably weighs as much as 2 of us put together. Argument continues until we get another hit on the cards. She's in a restaurant this time. We get there and Jesus fucking Christ, she sat at this huge table covered in empty plates. The staff reveals she ate it all. Pay the tab, try to grab her. Better luck is had this time with all 4 of us grabbing her and trying to pull her out of the restaurant with her screaming and shouting all the way. Some idiots call the cops and with sirens in the distance we gotta bail. She does too, fortunately. Good thing as we are not fucking with the Thai police. Argument changes to discussion of how the fuck do we ensnare the beast. Call home for advice and info. Guy back at home suggests a fishing net or something, doho, and reveals a few of her tastes, namely large quantities of cheap, tacky cocktails, fast food, and fat guys. Weird, but whatever. Fishnet does get approval from the group, mind you, so we procure a net from a nearby themed restaurant. The hunt for the whale resumes. Bingo. Another card hit. This time strip club. Hit the club and find her arguing with the barman, screaming that she needs money for the stripper. Barman is clearly terrified. She's laid on the bar, grabbing hold of the barman while the bouncer tries to pull her off. We help and throw the net over her. Critical success, lads. She falls over flat on her face and starts crying, sufficiently restrained. She's left a sort of greasy stain on the countertop, and the whole thing seems to have buckled under the strain. Pay for damages. Start dragging her fat ass out of the place. As we leave, notice the strip club is full of fat women staring at us disapprovingly. Realize we better hurry the fuck up. As we're leaving, a fat guy barges through the door past us too. Wonder for a moment what the fuck is going on, and then notice the strippers are fucking gigantic. Confused as fuck. Noticing the phones, we panic, drag her fat ass to the car and speed away quickly. One of us fishes the target's phone out of her purse and starts going through it. After a good 20 minutes of this fat slob sobbing in the car between bouts of screaming at us, we hear aloud, "Oh, that explains it," from our partner in crime with the phone. Turns out the land whale had helped finance a positive body image stripper night at the club with a bunch of other fatties. Why in Thailand? Fuck if I know. Realize all our friends will be calling the cops. Call the boss and ask for a way out. He says lay low and he'll work on it. We fuck off to a warehouse that has been pegged as our fallback location. Some of our mates working another gig are there. They help us with the land whale while their target is tied to a chair gagged. Unfortunately, she's starting to get a lot more rowdy and fights back. Takes all 8 of us to tie her up. It works for a while, and we're just relaxing as we hear a loud snap as she breaks the cuffs and ropes. The whale is loose. What follows is a good hour of chasing this land whale around the warehouse trying to subdue her. Eventually managed to lock her in a toilet with a load of stuff braced against the door. Windows too tiny for her to escape from. She keeps hammering at the door for the next few hours, and we realize we gotta do something. Our man with the phone has been sat there reading for a while now, being generally useless. Turns out he was trained as a forensic psychologist or some shit, and he was just figuring her out. Explains how she wound up here in Thailand. Nothing special, just a bunch of her fatty SJW friends wanted to go on a sexual vacation like other women, and made sure to tailor it to their tastes, with the rich fatty bankrolling the whole thing. It's real fascinating, mate, but useless to us. Tells us that all we need to do to keep her under control is give her the fantasies she wants. Well, mate, sounds like you just volunteered, since she ain't gotten a good look at you yet. Oh, hell nah, he goes. But the damage is done. He points out lack of fatness, and we realize this is a problem. Call boss, tell him we need a fat suit. Boss says can do. 20 minutes later, one fat suit arrives. Gotta love him sometimes. He just makes shit happen. Realize that someone is gonna have to pork her, and it can't be the one in the suit due to his penis not being like a foot long. Cut up the fat suit and make a cavity someone can hide in. Realize it has to be a small someone. Problem is debated. Option of cutting off one of the guy's legs comes up, but is quickly discarded. Consensus achieved. We need a tiny guy with a big dick. 4 of us pile into the car and set off to find such a man. Eventually, after a half hour of searching, we stop to ask these ladyboys if they know anyone like that. This tiny ladyboy, who would be short for a woman, who is wearing an oddly long skirt for a ladyboy, lifts it halfway, revealing the tip of a substantial cock. Sold, little ladyboy. He piles into the car, and we try to explain the situation, but he just seems confused by it all. Drive back to the warehouse. After a further 10 minutes of explanation, get tired of it, and stuff the ladyboy in the fat suit. Someone has to make sure his cock is positioned right. Not it. The barricade is removed, and our failed psychiatrist, or whatever he was, pretends he has rescued the fatty from the evil cis scum and comes to whisk her away on a romantic adventure or some such shit. We do our best to act defeated. Fatty is whisked away to the airport, where the client of our other team has sent a plane to pick them up. We figure, let's be green and I'll go on it. Fat suit guy takes Fatty into the back of the plane, claiming it's his, where there's a rather nice bedroom, and spends the flight having the ladyboy pork her, while everyone else sits up front and pretends they can't hear her moans and screams. We arrange a limo to pick her up, and fat suit guy goes with. Ladyboy porks her some more into the limo, we are later told. Poor ladyboy and fat suit guy only got a brief break while she was sleeping. her snoring seeming to shake the plane. Fatty is dropped off at her father's. He shakes Fatsuit Guy's hand, but once the daughter starts talking about what happened, he becomes concerned and Fatsuit Guy assures him the penis was not real, as he is wearing a fat suit. Fatty's father is pleased. Fatsuit Guy takes off Fatsuit to prove point. Fatty's father inspects it, saying it's very lifelike. Fatsuit Guy makes up excuses and quickly bails, relating all of this to us later. Poor Thai boy is released for good. Poor bastard spends the next hour drinking everything in the minibar as the plane continues to the next drop-off. We wind up paying the ladyboy a full share of the pay and pay for his trip back home. I don't think he had ever seen so much money in one place. Seemed pretty damn pleased. Shit was generally fucking crazy. And there you have it. Story of the fat suit and ladyboy. Abridged heavily, as I am cooking food. Told by boss a client wants us to locate his wife. Has been missing for the better part of a month after taking out a fuck ton of money from his accounts. From what we can tell, she's converted it to cash or moved it into accounts we can't locate. Given all the info, last known location, and known habits. Turns out we've done this before. Twice, in fact, so we have a fairly good idea of where she could be. Women have a tendency to be creatures of habit. Problem is, this one's habits are a bit wacky. Each time she's ran off, she's gone to some really fucked up high-class sex club and literally spent all her money there until she runs out and had to surface to grab more. First time was your typical 24-hour all-year orgy club. There are some who fucking live in the things. It's disgusting. Second time was at an extreme BDSM club. She'd spent a few months there being used as furniture. Needed time in a hospital. So we realized this time was going to be worse. At the BDSM club, we'd almost lost one of our group to a Korean dom. Poor girl was never quite the same afterwards. Women rarely last in this job. First thing we did was hit the lists. Complete records of all clubs like that in Europe, as she'd never gone outside the continent in the past for this sort of thing. A lot of clubs, but we narrowed it down based on her area. Lack of any sightings at airports, like fuck she'd drive and take a plane, and so on. Went to a particular city, infamous for this sort of shit. Lots of places like what we were looking for there, all tailored to the absurdly wealthy. Got off the plane, through customs, and checked into a hotel. Declined the complimentary call girl. Wait till the evening, as that's when these clubs open their doors to strangers. Have to use this fancy-ass disguise kit, as we're known at more than a few of them, and they don't like having customers stolen. Fortunately, one of us knows how to use the bloody thing, and we wind up looking like a group of stereotypical rich Scots, bushy orange mutton chops and all. Hit some of the clubs with no luck. Have a bad run-in with someone who almost recognized us. Managed to escape without any incident, beyond having to throw a few bottles at them and scream dogpile. Begin to despair that this is going to turn into one of those long-winded cases. It does. We spend a month checking clubs all over Europe. Extra resources are pulled in as the client starts throwing more money at our boss to do it faster. Eventually, we get a tip. Someone has seen our target at a particular club. Celebrations all around. Finally, a solid lead. Then comes the bad news. It's a new club. It's a hardcore scat club. We are talking a place that has never, ever been cleaned. A literal den of filth and disease. They hose you off after you leave with antiseptic. She's in there, and she has been in there a while. Call the client to tell him to arrange a discreet hospital stay, pickup, and so on. Order some hazmat suits and guns from the boss. There's just no talking with some people. A few days later, everything is arranged, and observation of the club has not shown her leaving. Some people do pay extra, it seems, to stay in the club's own hotel where they can keep the party going. All of us are, by virtue of being in this job, a bit obsessed with cleanliness. Try to convince the boss to send someone else. He refuses. All of us are sat there miserable, trying to find any excuse not to do this, not daring to be in the same room as our informant at the club. The gear arrives from the boss, along with a body bag to stuff the target in. An ambulance will be waiting as our escape vehicle. We give ourselves one final rub-down with alcohol gel, disinfectants, and whatever else is handy in the shower before we get dressed and wait for everyone to be ready. I can only imagine the doorman's confusion when 4 men in bright yellow hazmat suits carrying shotguns walked up to him. Said confusion prevented him from really acting until it was too late and he got a shotgun butt in the face. Rather than bothering with keys or shit, we simply shoot the lock off and kick in the door. The first room is pretty much just an airlock. Step in, shoot the second lock, and kick in the door. It was simply horrific. There was shit everywhere, and people rolling around in it, copulating, doing things that are simply indescribable. We all just stood there in shock as people slowly noticed us. And then the screaming started. A few shotgun blasts to the ceiling got them screaming more and running. We looked for our target in the crowd, kicking in doors left and right, every door revealing a new scene of horrific, waste-related kink. No, this was beyond kink. This was just sick. These people were sick. Probably literally. Target was found. Target removed from bath, and young man repeatedly kicked in the corner to shut him up. Just couldn't stop kicking him. Kicked him until he stopped moving. That place. It just got to us. Target was crying in the corner, so we stuffed her in the bag and carried her out. A few more blasts from the shotgun paving the way. Ambulance waiting out back. Shit streaks on the sides from people trying to get help from them. Guy stood outside. He was a truncheon looking sick. Throw Target in the back and climb in. Guy gets in and drives us the fuck out of there. One of us makes the mistake of popping the seal on his hazmat suit. His screams. They still haunt me. Target was dropped off at a rather exclusive and discreet hospital. We were hosed off by courteous hospital staff. Foolish one, who popped the seals on his suit, spent the rest of the evening as a shambling zombie, barely responding to anything. Improved after a few hot showers. Got back to the hotel and packed up to leave. Nobody talked. Nobody wanted to talk. It was just horrific. Since the client had paid so much, the boss gave us considerable bonuses for that mess and vacation time. That was nice. 2 guys from the team quit the next day. Oh, and yes, I forgot. I don't like remembering that one. It was truly a horrible one. Smelt like a sewer for days afterwards, despite the suit. Realized that someone is going to have to pork her, and he can't be the one in the suit due to his penis not being a foot long. Fuck. Foolish one who popped the seals on his suit.